No being earns life forevermore. Hence, each of us will surely die. But our Creator knows for sure the time, the season, where and why. Today, a great soul lies in sleep, a handmaid of the Master's plan, a saint in God's own safety keep, a mystery still unknown to man. Good afternoon, church. Your Excellency, Sir Rodney Williams, Governor General of Antigua and Barbuda, senior government officials, members of Parliament, former Prime Minister, Mr. Baldwin Spencer, my grieving friends of the James family, other distinguished mourners, other congregated mourners here at this time. I consider it a distinguished privilege and honor to have been asked by the James family to deliver this tribute on the occasion of the celebration of the life of Alfred Denfield Colo James. You may wonder why this is so. I shall tell you. I was, and still am, a close family friend who interacted positively with all of the immediate members of the family of the deceased, and especially so with Colin and my dear brother, affectionately known as Vaughan Property James. Their loss, my friends, I say, is my loss. Their pain is my pain. We all of us grieve together today. This honorable man was the friend of many and the enemy of none. For his great humor and genuine concern for the welfare of everyone with whom he came in contact, his eagerness to assist everyone, especially the young and the inexperienced who he came into contact with, was the hallmark of his character. And in that regard, his comforting and gentle guidance to all and sundry were really unmatched. Therefore, I wish to express the sympathies of my own family and of the entire constituency of St. Peter's to the family of Alfred Colo James, especially to his dear wife, Mistress Tessie James, and his 4 sons, Colin, Vaughan, Avery, and Clint, as we prepare to bury his remains today. My friend and comrade was born on July the 19th, 1943, and that is exactly 2 months and 2 days before Luther Emmanuel George, the first phenotypically black Antiguan male, was elected to Parliament or legislature on September the 21st, 1943. My friend Alfred Colo James, 76-year-old at death, grew up in a changing Antigua and Barbuda, led by astute and articulate leaders like Luther George and Werbird. At birth in 1943, Antigua and Barbuda was still a colony, a patchwork of sugar plantations with very limited opportunities for the colonized people to advance. But Alfred Colo James had very narrow choices beyond the basic education that the All Saints Secondary School offered. Our island would so remain until the most significant turning point on February 27th, 1967, when the first chains fell away. And by 1967, when Mr. James would have been approaching his 24th birthday, there was limited scope for intelligent and ambitious young men of his generation to exercise control over industry or government. Our forebears have built a new Antigua and Barbuda, a new Jerusalem, with opportunities for all young men and young women to succeed at being the captains of industry, the managers of the people's affairs. Yet all labor is dignity. And John Ruskin, the labor leader for whom a University of Labor is named in England, he said the following, and I quote, "The highest reward for a person's toil is not what they get for it, but what they become by it." End of quote. And who did my friend Alfred James become, delivering mail for 42 years working for the General Post Office? he became a trusted and reliable friend, even a father figure to hundreds of families who depended upon the General Post Office to deliver to their doorsteps those envelopes and packages that relatives abroad dispatched to their family members at home. He knew all those families, in Potters, in Pigots, in All Saints, in Otters, wherever he was dispatched to deliver. And when he was placed in charge of the All Saints Post Office or the Postal Service at V.C. Bird International Airport, Alfred Colo James went always beyond the call of duty. He received the highest reward for his labor by what he became by it, a trusted and efficient manager of the people's resources. Today, because of electronic mail, DHL, Federal Express, and even QuickPack, the General Post Office may seem outdated. But yet, during the discussions leading to the West Indies Federation in 1958, every single entity within the 13 parts that made up the Federation at that time insisted on retaining revenues from the post offices. It was that lucrative back then. Today it might not be, because times have changed. But the dignity of labor has remained unchanged, and the highest reward for a person's toil remains the same as it always had. The transformative effect on the worker's dignity. And Alfred Colo James' work, he was a keen lover of all sports, though cricket and football absorbed his passion. And I grew personally to know Mr. James primarily because of my love for football. And as you know, he produced two sons, one who emulated him and became a sports journalist and commentator. The other, my friend for life, my brother, Poppety, who became a sports coach and a trainer. Vaughan was really the link between me and Mr. James. He was the coach of Bassa Football Club when I met him years ago. And when there was some disagreement, he moved to Hoppers Football Club, which was then sponsored by my sister and myself. Vaughan proved to be very effective as a coach, just as Colin proved himself to be very worthy in his chosen career of sports reporting. But these two skilled men led me to their father and caused me to hold discussions with Mr. James on a plethora of subjects. He loved politics, local and international, sports, especially cricket, and he had a prodigious memory and could recall many facts and figures. He was a delight when speaking about his passions, but he was a complex human being who seemed to enjoy life, but that is very important. But here today, ladies and gentlemen, lies a man who loved calypsos, reggae, and gospel. He loved competition and travel. He loved his country most of all. And though he spent time in New York, he chose always to return to Antigua, his beloved country. Though he was dispatched to Washington to attend the George Meany Labor College, he'd return right here, determined to build a better Antigua and Barbuda. And he loved his family. I believe that my comrade and friend and brother, Senator Colin James, was very much like him. Alfred Colo James immersed himself in his community, making All Saints and all of Antigua a better place in which to live. In the Anglican CPWI hymnal, there's a hymn which captures my love for Alfred Colo James, and it is hymn 334. Men are the sons of God and therefore brothers, but will the fatherhood of God be known if we do not reflect his love to others? In charity and justice, God is shown. One of Colo's most endearing characteristics was his patriotism. As I said, he loved Antigua. He was completely devoted to the upliftment of this country, and he would tolerate no criticism of his country by anyone. That is the trait that completes the character that we all knew as Colo. He loved and believed in the country of his birth and his people, and people knew that. And that is why he could cross the political divide. That is why he could love people who reveled in red and basked in blue, and they could love him too. As we bid farewell to this marvelous son of the soil, of All Saints and of Antigua and Barbuda, we reflect on a life well lived. Our parents passed to us a baton, much like a relay race, and they expected each succeeding generation to improve on the performance of the generation that came before. And I can say with certainty and without fear of criticism that the sons of Alfred, Colo, James have carried that baton. They've carried that baton further along, making this man proud today. So that to the entire family of Alfred, Colo, James, his lovely wife, his children, his grandchildren, his relatives and his friends, I want to assure you that I feel your pain. I feel the emptiness. I feel the pain. I feel the disappointment which naturally accompanies death. But Khalil Gibran, one of my favorite poets, wrote the following about death. And he said, "Talk not of my departure with the sighs in your heart. Close your eyes and you will see me with you forevermore. Go back to the joy of your dwelling and you'll find there that which death cannot remove from you and me. It is near impossible not to have sighs in your heart on the passing of Alfred James, your husband, your father, your grandfather, your friend, and your neighbor. You may close your eyes in order to imagine Colo doing happy times, but the tears may escape through your eyelids. You'll return to your dwelling places, but will find that knowledge of Colo. Past will remain with you and cause the joys of your homes to be diminished." The poet Khalil Gibran from Lebanon knew that these human reactions would occur. Yet he wanted us to resist those human traits at a time when death connects us brazenly to our humanity and reminds us callously of our mortality. For our religion also seeks to comfort us in death. For those of us who are Christians believe that faith in the Almighty will cause us on Judgment Day to see that faces of our loved ones who have gone before. And we believe that to love God, to do good works, and to live a life of charity will cause God to look favorably upon us after death. As we reward for our goodness, we will see God's face. And if this indeed is the formula for everlasting salvation, then I'm compelled to believe that Alfred Colo, he is already welcomed in the arms of Jesus Christ. So may the God who provided the courage for our Middle Passage ancestors to learn, to endure, and the God who taught our forebears the wisdom to withstand the lash and the drudgery of forced labor, may that God welcome into the bosom a son who has done his duty here on this piece of earth with dignity, pride, wisdom, and self-assurance. Goodbye, my friend. Safe travel as you cross the river beyond. God bless you. Thank you.